All right. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. Just wanted to touch up a little bit on the market, on how I feel, what to look out for basically this week coming up with this whole sell-off that we've been having these past couple days, tariff talks, etc. Right. So first off, I want to talk off on SPX, the S&P 500. Right. We know we've been selling off heavily, and here I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys basically what I'm looking at going into this week. Right, overall, yes, we can see we got a couple gaps from last week, right? But that being said, we can also see we are trading well below our 200 EMA, right? We've rejected it here. We can see also, if we zoom out of the daily time frame on SPX, just look at roughly where we are trading at, right? You guys can see how we have basically broken down of a uptrend that the market has been overall, right? Once we started to break below this uptrend that the overall market has been, we can also see that we've rejected trying to get back above this uptrend, right? So that right there is telling us, okay, sellers are here. There might be more selling here, rejection off 200 May. So all that shows up in what we are seeing here with tariff talks as well. All of this is coming into play with the market, right? So we have heavy selling here, SPX. We are breaking below past August lows of last year right here with Friday sell-off. So that being said, we can see here, what are we looking at to go and possibly aim for next on SPX? What I'm looking for is to go ahead and test last year's April's low on SPX, right? So that's going to be a crucial area that we're going to be watching here going into this week is, can SPX hold these 5,000s? If SPX loses these 5,000s, there is a chance that we will go test these April lows, right? But also, with that being said, look at how much we are down overall year to date. Almost 6%, close to that 7% range that everyone's watching here. So that's also another thing that we also have to be mindful here in the markets, right? So now that we have that covered on SPX, let's go ahead and look at SPY, right? Another thing that SPY we've also been looking at, it's basically going to be almost that same picture that we can also see on SPX as well, right? So here on SPY's daily time frame, we can see that SPY's daily time frame based off Friday's low, we are bouncing roughly right off of that August low, right? So August lows was roughly around these 508.50s, right? Yes, we did break below those 505.50s here on Friday, having that low of 505.06, right? So these 505s is going to be something that we're going to be watching going into the market, right? But overall, with the overall China markets already being down, we are expecting a gap down pre-markets. There's a highly chance that we will most likely gap down, right? So that's going to be something to consider. We know that if we do gap down, those 505s will probably be broken. Where we will be landing, we don't technically know as of right now, but as of right now, the overnight session trading roughly around these 590s. So, and that's also something that I want to bring up to you guys, is that with the overnight session trading right around these 490s, area that I'm looking for is going to be same thing with the SPX, is those April lows on SPY. Those April lows on SPY is roughly these 487.60s, you see. So we are already close to that range of testing those April's lows, and if those April lows gives out this week, we're due for some heavy panic selling. We don't know if the markets might pause or what's going to happen, because mind you, we are nearing that 7% in the market. So that's going to be very crucial for investors here. Investors need us step up and try to prevent us reaching that 7%. But with these whole tariff talks, that's what's been coming into effect into the market. So that's something to be out there watching, guys, is that markets might end up testing those April lows from last year. So be mindful there, guys. And to add to this video is that I'm gonna go ahead and get ahead and give you guys two stocks that I will be looking for to add for long term. That I personally think are very undervalued stocks, right? So one of them will be Intel. Intel, we all know, chip maker, computers, etc., and all that, right? So for me, reason why I like Intel is because, as we can see right now, we are basically consolidating in the range, but also looking to go test our 52-week low, right? Our 52-week low is going to be roughly these 1850s, as we can see here. So that's something that I will also be looking for this week. And on top of that, it's also a play that I will also be looking at. So with the whole market selling off, of course, hope everyone's looking to play puts in the markets, right? So that being said, that is something that I will be looking for as well on Intel for a weekly play, is to go test into those 1850s, right? So that being said, that will be my strike price for puts, for weekly puts. But overall, I'm looking forward to start buying long term. So if we do break below this, I already know that I'll be getting in cheap, because what I'm looking for, ideally, if we do break below those 1850s, I'm looking for the next possible area, which will be roughly right around these 13 and 14s. So we can see, go a little bit further out here on this weekly time frame, we can see, right? So right around this red line here, that's the area where we're looking at to break. It's those 1850s. If that gives up, we can see next possible support is going to be right around those 1375s based off that weekly, right? So from there is where I'm going to be looking at to start to buy in. Even if I buy once we break this 1850s and we continue to drop lower, I will slowly start to average into my position for the long term, because I do feel like with the guidance that Intel has for the future, you know, everything takes patience, everything takes time. So I do believe that in the future, whether it's a year or 2 years or who knows, like I do believe in Intel's guidance. I do believe that once they start to get ahead with their AI and chips and all this, and catching up to all these bigger competitors like Nvidia and AMD, I do believe that Intel will start to be almost in that same lane as with them, right? So I do believe that Intel is very undervalued and is a very good long-term hold for the future. That being said, another one that I'm also looking at is Rocket Companies. Rocket Companies, as we all know, is a financial technical company, right? So we all know what they do is almost like financials and stuff like that, with the pay latest stuff like that we see, right? So, and I believe I heard something about them acquiring a company. Can't remember where I technically heard that, but I do believe that Rocket Company is very undervalued. I mean, no one really talks about this company, but overall, look at our daily time frame. So overall, for our daily time frame, we can see we have been basically in a nice uptrend since mid-January of this year, right? Based off that, look at our daily time frame, where we can basically see we are just trading still undervalued, for my opinion, right? So if we go into the weekly time frame, we can see these 560s is roughly that support, right? So that being said, what can we see here? Look at this weekly time frame. Once we found that bottom there, boom, got here, boom. You can slightly say we bounce off those 5s, but this is gonna be roughly those 7s. So we can see how the overall here weekly time frame, sort of consolidation, right, in between this range, slowly start to trend up higher. We broke above this area, right? Broke above that 200 EMA, hit a resistance roughly around those 20s. So that's what I'm gonna be one of my first targets that I will be looking at to target for long calls, long leaps on Rocket because of this company. I believe they're very undervalued. The chart from what I'm looking at is telling me, okay, it seems like buyers are now starting to, or investors are now starting to find this company, starting to dig more deep into it, into their guidance and what they're doing, right? So with what I've read into and all this, I am very bullish on this company, and I will be looking to get in shares and to buy in a couple calls longs. I just like what the charts is telling me. Overall, I show you guys here on the daily. Nice little uptrend, breaking above 200 EMA. And we can see how here I have already got my area here, which I'm looking to target. So I will most likely be looking to grab something and start a position on Rocket here for long term. So just keep an eye on Rocket, guys. Keep this on your watch list if you want. But this is just my personal insight, not financial advice. You know, always do your personal DD on any stocks that you might hear people mention. Those are just two of my things that I will be looking here on longer term swings, longer term holds, Rocket and Intel. I personally like them for me. And here on the weekly, we can see big green candle, right? Big green candle. And that 200 EMA is going to act as a magnet. So I do believe once we break above this 1675s, we will go ahead and start to go ahead test into those 20s. And look at here on this weekly time frame. What can we see? If we break above those 20s, we will start to break up higher, and next area that I'm seeing here based off this weekly time frame is going to be those 25s. If we do break above these 20s, start to break above into those 25s, things can get interesting going up from here, guys. Just look at this. After that 25, we see this big wick up to those 36 excuse me, those 36.13. So based off this wick, we know we have some liquidity to grab to the upside if we break that 25. And with that being said, guys, look at this weekly gap. I'm not saying that's where we're looking to go ahead and grab, but from my perspective, from if I start a position down here at these 15s and I ride myself up to these 36, I've already doubled my money on a long-term investment. You see, so what I'm looking for is long-term investment to give me something in return based off these companies. And based off these companies, their guidance are showing good guidance going into the future. And that's what I'm basing off. As on top of that, basing it with the TA from what I know off the charts. So that being said, guys, that's going to be basically it for today. And I hope we guys have a great trading week this week. Let's hope to make some profits and green and go about it from there, guys. So please like and subscribe, and let's go.